Welcome to the Gateway Debt Management video tutorial. Today, I will walk you through adding a debt in Gateway Debt Management. Gateway Debt Management is an application that allows units to file debt reports to the Department of Local Government Finance as required by Indiana Code Title V, Article 1, Chapter 18. To begin, you will first need to locate the Gateway login page. The page that I am currently on serves as our public data output site. This site can be accessed by typing the following address into the address bar: gateway.in.gov. Please remember to not include the www at the beginning of this address. Once here, you'll notice a large orange bar on the top of the page. On the right hand side it should say Local Officials Login Here. You'll click here to access the login page. You should now be on the Gateway login page. Down below on the left hand side, you are prompted to enter your username and password. Your username is your email address. Next, enter your password as well. Please remember that passwords are case sensitive, meaning that Gateway can tell the difference between big letters and small letters. Make certain to use the correct case. If you recently changed your email address, or if you're having difficulties logging in, let the department know by sending a message to gateway@dlgf.in.gov so that we may assist you. Once both your username and your password have carefully been entered, please click Login. If the correct username and password combination was entered, Gateway will take you to the Select Application page. This page gives you the option to select which port you would like to complete. This may look familiar, as this is where many of you have visited to access the budget forms, the annual financial report, and the 100R. For our purposes today, you will click on Debt Management. Now you've been taken to the Select Unit from List page. This will display any units of government that you have access to in Gateway Debt Management. Most users will only see one unit listed. If you do not see your unit listed below, you will want to contact the DLGF and request access to your unit. Again, you may direct your request to gateway@dlgf.in.gov. However, if you do see your unit of government on this page, simply click on the name of your unit to continue. You are now on the Select Debt page in Gateway Debt Management. This page is divided into two sections. The first section is the Debt Affirmation. This is where users will affirm that all data entered in Gateway Debt Management is complete and accurate. This is a yearly requirement and must be completed prior to March 1st of each year. The second section will list any debt that has been reported in the past. If a unit has not submitted any debt in the past, it will read, Unit has not reported any debt. A real benefit of Gateway Debt Management is that, unlike in prior years when users would have to compile debt reports manually and submit them individually each year, the debt reports that are submitted through Gateway Debt Management remain completed and submitted year after year. If your unit has no outstanding debt, simply check the box affirming this fact and then complete the signature information below. Next, we will click the Sign and Submit button. Once the Sign and Submit button is clicked and the yellow menu turns green, the debt affirmation is complete. If your unit does have outstanding debt, you'll most likely need to report it. Some exceptions include short-term debts to be repaid with current revenues, such as temporary loans, operating leases, and small lease-to-own agreements for equipment such as copiers. New debt should be reported within 30 days of incurring the debt. If we do have debt to report, we will click the Add New Debt button down below to create a new report in Gateway Debt Management. The report is comprised of multiple pages that you will complete one by one. Although the department encourages units to submit as much information as possible on each debt, there are certain fields throughout the report that may not be applicable to your particular kind of debt. Be sure to look out for red asterisks, as these symbols indicate required fields that must be completed in order to submit a debt report. In the first field, you will enter a name for the debt. The description that you give to the debt should be as specific as possible. You need to be certain that this name is unique and has not been used for another debt. Next, you will select the type of indebtedness. The type of indebtedness that you select here will affect certain required fields to follow in the debt report. If a debt is incurred by a separate entity and your unit leases it, you will need to mark the debt as a lease. Common examples are mortgage bonds that were issued by a building corporation to construct a building that is then leased back to a unit of government. Any debt with lease payments needs to be classified as a lease. In this example, I will classify my debt as a bond. The next field is the base CUSIP number. Please note that unless you are reporting a bond issuance, your debt most likely will not have a CUSIP number. The CUSIP number is a 9-digit code that contains both numbers and letters. You may be able to look up your CUSIP number by visiting the following website: emma.msrb.org. From there, you can use the search feature to locate your CUSIP number assigned to your bonds. Please note that the base CUSIP number would be the first 6 digits. The next field asks, is this debt exempt from property tax caps? Debts that are exempt from property tax caps include certain debt issued in Lake and St. Joseph counties before July 1st, 2008, or any debt that is imposed after being approved by voters in a referendum. If neither of these specific exemptions applies to your debt, then the answer to the question is no. Next, you will enter the Indiana Code citation that authorizes your unit to incur debt. This will often be found in the authorizing ordinance or resolution. The last field on this page asks whether or not this debt is subject to the issuer's debt limit. Generally, a debt is subject to the debt limit if it's backed by property tax, income tax, or is a general obligation of the issuer. If you indicate yes, then you may enter the name of the applicable issuer, this issuer's current debt limit, and the current debt capacity after the issuance of this debt. The applicable issuer is the unit of government for which the constitutional or statutory limit is impacted. Information about the debt limit can be found under Indiana Code Title 36, Article 1, Chapter 15. When this page of the debt report is complete, you will want to save the information entered by clicking Save on the bottom left-hand side of the page. Once the page is saved, you will click Next to continue to the Date Information section of the debt report. This screen collects information about dates of certain requirements for issuing the debt. For each date, you may select the date from the calendar, or type the date directly into the box using this format: 2-digit month, 2-digit day, and a 4-digit year. You'll want to enter as much information as possible, but please note that the required field on this page is the date of debt closing. This is the date that the issuer receives the proceeds or funds from issuing the debt, and it must be completed prior to submitting the report. Once the page is complete, you will click Save and then Next. You can return to any page to enter information at any time prior to submitting the report. You will now be on the Petition Remonstrance page. You will first answer if the debt was subject to petition or remonstrance. These requirements are outlined in Indiana Code Title 6, Article 1.1, Chapter 20, Section 3.1. If you select No, you may proceed to the next question. If you select yes, you will be asked if a remonstrance was conducted. If the answer to that question is also yes, then you will indicate the number of votes in favor of the debt and the number against. Next, if you indicate that a debt was subject to a referendum, you will also be asked to input the number of votes in favor and the number against the debt. You will now click Save and then Next. This screen collects debt rating information. A debt may have one rating, more than one rating, or even no rating at all. If this debt is not rated, you will simply check the box next to Debt is not rated. If this debt is rated, you will first select the type of rating, the rating agency, and the rating itself. When you click Save, the rating will be saved. If you have any additional ratings, they may be added as well. And we will click Save to save our new rating. Once you have completed this page, you may click Next. This screen will ask for the security on the debt. The first section will ask for the debt's source of repayment. Most debts will have a primary and secondary source of repayment. These can be marked by clicking in the appropriate circles. You will also have the option to enter a source of repayment that is not listed by clicking on the Other option. Please examine all standard options carefully before choosing Other. The primary source of repayment is a required field. If TIF revenue is selected as a source of repayment, Gateway will also ask for the allocation area for which the TIF revenues will be generated. This page will also ask if the debt refinances or refunds any previously outstanding debt. If it does, you will be prompted to link this debt to a debt report previously entered in Gateway. Please note that once a debt has been retired or refinanced, it should be marked as retired on the Select Debt page. If the debt is marked as a lease, you will also be prompted to enter the name of the lessor. Once you are finished on this page, you may click Save and continue to the next page. The next screen collects information about the purpose for the issuance of the debt and the overall financial information for the project as a whole. In the first field, Purpose of the Debt, you will briefly give an overview of why the debt is being issued and then indicate the total project cost below. The total project cost should be the amount being financed from all sources, not just the debt proceeds. The next section asks you to provide all the sources of funds that will support this project. This should include the proceeds from this debt, as well as any other financing sources such as grants. The total of all sources entered into this box should equal the total project costs as indicated above. To add a source, you will enter a description into the first field and the dollar amount into the second. To save the source, you will click Add Source on the right. The information will be posted to the chart above, and a new blank box will appear underneath. You will continue adding lines until all sources have been added. To delete a source, you can click the Delete link to the right of the added sources. Next, you will add the uses of funds for this project. It is important that you provide an itemized cost of issuance along with projected expenditures. You enter a description and amount for each use that you add. Once you are done, the total uses, total sources, and the total project costs should all be the same amount. If they are, you may move on to the next section. The last section on this page will ask for the dates that the bids were received, start of construction, and the estimated date of substantial completion. This section will not apply to all debts, but if it applies to yours, you enter the dates by either using the calendar or entering the date directly into the fields in the following format: 2-digit month, 2-digit day, and a 4-digit year. Now, once this page is complete, you may click Save and then Next to continue on to the next page. The final screen for data entry collects the amortization schedule. When this page is complete, it will consist of a detailed schedule of repayments that can be pulled into the debt worksheet during the budget season for those debts backed by property tax. The amortization schedule is required for all debts. You want to include all payments from the first to the projected last. Two exceptions include state revolving fund loans that have not yet had its draws completed, or a debt with a variable interest rate that is not yet known for future payments. In these cases, you will list the payments until the most recent submit the report and then update it yearly. Like most other pages, the amortization schedule has fields that must be completed in order to be able to submit the report. These required fields vary based upon the type of indebtedness that was selected earlier. All debts require data to be entered in the date, principal or interest, and the remaining balance columns. Leases will also require the total amount for each payment to be entered in the lease payments column. All other types of debt will require the period total column to be completed and any trustee fees added if applicable. There are two options for entering the amortization schedule. First, information can be entered directly into the table. Alternatively, a specially formatted Microsoft Excel file containing the information may be uploaded. To enter data directly, simply type the relevant information into the boxes on the chart. The Tab key can be pressed to proceed to the next box. It is important to save every few minutes to avoid any chance of being logged out due to inactivity. If more rows are needed, click the Add More Rows button at the bottom of the chart. Rows will appear at the bottom of the amortization schedule. Please be sure to click Save once all data has been entered. If you wish to enter the amortization schedule in Excel and upload it, click on the example of .csv file. You will now open the file. The Excel spreadsheet will be pre-populated with example data as shown below. Please make certain to enter the amortization schedule in the same format, being sure to remove all the example data first. With the sample data removed, you may begin entering the amortization schedule. This process can and will be done several different ways, so do not feel obligated to follow along in the exact same manner. In this example, I will use a 20-year bond with biannual principal payments of $50,000 each at a 3% interest rate. Please note that the dates on the amortization schedule are not necessarily the exact dates that the payments are made. To begin, enter the dates. If the dates are at constant intervals, you may be able to enter a couple and then drag the dates down. Next, enter the principal amounts in column B. These are the amounts to be paid for a specific date as opposed to a running or outstanding total. In this example, they are all $50,000. Now enter the interest rates as shown in the amortization schedule. In this example, the interest rate is a constant 3% annually. Please note that the interest rates are already in percents. For example, a 3% interest rate would be entered as a 3, not 0.03. Our next step is to enter the interest being paid for each listed date. Next, enter the period total amounts, which are typically just the principal plus the interest. Remember that if the debt being entered is classified as a lease, you want to be sure that the total payments are entered in the lease payments column. Once the amortization schedule has been completed, it is time to save the file. We will go up to the File button on the top left-hand side and click Save As. We want to be sure to save it in a location that we can easily find, such as our desktop. Let's give it a specific file name. And click Save. Don't be alarmed. These CSV files tend to ask quite a few questions. Now that the Excel file has been completed and saved, it's time to upload the file. Let's navigate to the amortization schedule page in Gateway, and let's click Browse. This will allow you to browse your files and locate where the CSV Excel file has been saved. Once selected, click on the button that says Open on the bottom right-hand side of the pop-up box. You should see text appear to the left of the Browse button if the file has been successfully selected. To upload the file, click Upload File. Now the amortization schedule uploaded should populate the page below. It is very important to save the page after uploading the file, or else it may not save. Once the amortization schedule has been completed and saved, you may continue to the Review Signature page. The final screen presents a summary of all data entered on the previous screens. Please review this data for accuracy before submitting the form. Underneath the summary, there's an electronic signature box on the left. Only users with submission rights will see the signature box. To sign the form, first type in your name and title into the signature box. Next, enter your 4-digit PIN. This PIN will be sent to the person with submission rights by email. In the event that a PIN has been lost or has not been assigned, the DLGF may be contacted at gateway@dlgf.in.gov. The last field in the signature panel is the date and has been prepopulated. Next, you want to click the Save Signature button down below. As long as all the required fields have been completed and you have reviewed that the information is correct, the form can now be submitted. Before you submit, you may want to provide some additional comments with your debt report. The right side of the bottom of the form contains an area to provide any additional notes or details not indicated in the previous screens. Feel free to type in any notes needed to explain the contents of this report. If any notes have been entered, you want to click the Save Note button to save this section. The final step to submitting a debt report is to click the green "Click here to submit completed form" button. If you attempt to submit a debt report without all the required fields completed, an error message will appear at the bottom of the page. This message will list the required fields that have not yet been completed. Once all the required fields have been completed, the report should submit upon clicking the green "Click to Submit" button. If a correction needs to be made or a report needs to be updated, a request for the debt to be unsubmitted can be addressed to gateway@dlgf.in.gov. Once a debt has been retired, simply check the box next to the debt name underneath the retired column. Please note that the annual debt affirmation must be submitted each year prior to March 1st. For a closer look at the annual debt affirmation, you may want to view our other video titled Signing and Submitting the Debt Affirmation Statement. Please keep in mind that although there is the annual debt affirmation, Gateway Debt Management is an ongoing application. Debt reports can be added and retired at any point in the year. If you would happen to incur a new debt, you would want to add it in Gateway Debt Management within 30 days of closing on the debt. Any Gateway Debt Management questions may be directed to our Gateway inbox by email at gateway@dlgf.in.gov. Or, if you'd prefer to call, please ask for Ryan Burke or Colby Shank at 317-232-3777 or toll free at 888-739-9826. We look forward to assisting you with whatever you may need. Thank you and goodbye.